Hey everyone, it's Chris at Line Punch Forge. I wanted to thank you for coming back and watching the third, part 3. I can't raise that finger at the same time, so don't judge. Part 3 of the Freshwater Cultured Pearl Peapod project, and coming at you in just a minute. But before, there's a red subscribe button down somewhere in here. If you haven't already, check it out. Hit that, hit the little bell, and you'll get notifications when I make new videos. Appreciate everyone, and if you have a chance, afterwards, well after you watch all the videos on the channel, check out linepunchforge.com and lpfswag.com. Love to have you there. Appreciate you, and we'll see you guys soon. Part number 3. Alright, now that we have our little balls and our bail soldered on, I can always texture this later. I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. But what I want to do is, this Peapod is really open right now, and when these pearls go in there and this closes back over, there's a lot of room for this to close back over, and I don't want to do that. I want to kind of minimize over so that you can still see the pearls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Purple Heart dowel rod here. Now I can also do this with a pair of soft jaws, which I have right here. I'm just going to start that curve with my soft jaws. And that way when I hammer it out, it'll be a bit more easy to start that forming. Alright, now that I have that, I can start kind of forming with that dowel on this side with the round. Owie! Yeah, start to flare that. Flare that other side now. There we go. So, since I'm going to go ahead and take this back to the torch, I'm going to set our next piece at the same time for soldering, which is going to be our wire for the pearls. And depending on what size wire you have, you might need to either expand the holes in the pearls or find a slightly smaller diameter wire, which I have laying around here somewhere. Okay, I found my wire. This stuff I think is either 24 or 26 gauge wire. I was able to thread it through where I have my bail, and I left it proud here so that I can do some wrapping later on. But for now, what I'm concerned about is this section here. So I want this section to be just as long as the Peapod and about double the length, because I'm going to go back, I'm going to wrap those pearls afterwards. So what I need to do right now is probably do a little bit of wire wrapping, trying to make this look natural, like a little Peapod wrap type vine looking thing. And then I'll probably end in a curl, maybe some sort of curl. Pull this all the way through. Be creative, do your own thing. If I make this project again, it won't be exactly the same. So this is kind of one of those fun projects where you get to be you. As my friend Francesca would say, you do you. Kind of just add a little bit of fun embellishment to that. Now this wire here is going to be soldered up in this area where it's coming out. I want that to stay put. So I'll add solder here and I'll add solder down here, and when I solder I'll probably tip it on end like this and hold it straight up so I can direct my heat right to this area here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I'll be back. Alright, now that we have this big mess of wire and all sorts of fun stuff going on, I'm gonna pick out which pearls I want to use based on the shape, how best they are to fit. And I dropped one. I heard two. I got one. Where'd the other one go? There it is. Found it. Alright. So I'm looking to see how they're drilled. That may be a good one. That may be a good one. I'm looking for big ones. Let's see. Let's check my other bin here. That looks like a good one. So now what I'm going to do is string those on to this wire. And I have pretty much everything that I want to do on this pendant soldered on already. I will not need any more heat, because once you introduce the beads, the pearls, the good stuff, you can't introduce any more heat. So, and I might need to snip off a little bit of this because I was hammering it on a little bit and I want it to slide through nice and smooth. Okay. Pearls can be delicate, so take your time. There we go. Got one on. Let's move it down a little farther. Let's get another one on. Where's my pearl hole? Right in the pearl hole. Another one. Alright, so what I'm going to do is push these up as far as I want them to go, which ideally is close to the top, which can be a little bit of a nightmare. You don't want to break the wire and you don't want to break the pearl. Okay, that's going to close down when I get it up there, so that's good. I'll send this next one up so it meets it just in the right place. So those are nicely kind of nestled to each other. And then this one is going to do the same thing. We're going to throw it up, nuzzle it in, and it's going to look like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to bend it so I can create a stop point. This piece is going to be creased into there, and then I'm going to actually wrap these pearls a little bit. So I'm going to wrap around the inside between the pearls. Make sure I get them high enough. And this is going to lock them in place. Okay. this one, wrap that twice. And I'm going to get this wire back up at the top. And this part can be a little tricky, just be patient. You're basically looking to just wrap those pearls in place, make it kind of look like vines, and you can press everything down into the bottom of the Peapod. Now this portion, I need to twist it around so that my Peapods are at the top. Just like that. And it looks like I can take this wire and insert it down at the bottom. So now that I have the Peapods where I want them, I'm going to want to start closing this. And I'm going to use my wood dowel or a pair of soft jaw pliers to do that. We'll start with the soft jaws. I want to push the pearls down in and start to close the bottom first, where I'm going to be trapping that wire. Make sure you keep pressure down on them. And I can use the edge of the soft jaw to help push. And then I may not be able to get the jaws around the top sides there, so I'm going to use my dowel on a block. Try and do this so you can see it. And I'm pushing down in between where the pearls are to kind of create a little indent. Now that part's probably good enough for me to start using maybe some round, half round, to kind of close those up a little bit. And ideally what you're trying to do is make this look a little bit scalloped, so you can close that up and you can bend, you can pull up, bend down. I want to bend this one up, bend that side down. And then I have a little bit of an opening there I want to try and get rid of. So I'm going to use my dowel and a very, very tiny mallet. Now, this is not the best course of action. Let me say that first, because you could easily crack a pearl and then you got to start all over again. And you don't want to do that. So now that we have that, I'm going to grab my soft jaws and I'm going to start going around this outside, pressing it in, not hard, just enough to drop your pendant on the floor and not roll over it with a chair. Alright. Now this portion here, I want to curl. Doesn't have to be a big one. But I just kind of want to curl, give it a little Peapod look. Counter curl, curl, and you've now locked those into place. Now what I'm going to do with this band here, sorry if you guys can't see, is I'm going to start weaving this around the piece and resting the end of it into that curl. A bit more. I'm going to bend that slightly so that it has a tight bend on it and I can get it in there. Alright, that's in there sort of kind of tight. I want to press it in a little bit more. I'll use the round end of my round nose pliers to press that in place. And then I'm going to tighten up this curve to kind of capture it. Now I have my wire. Now there's too much gap here, so I'm just going to use my dowel again, and I'm going to press that down in to the side of the Peapod. Try and keep it uniform. There you go. So now I've got to go over this and do a little bit of finishing, sanding, just to the outside. The inside I'm going to keep relatively kind of natural. What I'm going to do though is clean up some of these hard lines and just kind of taper a little bit, round it over. Round it over, and there you go. Now I'm going to attach a bail up here, so that's what it's going to pivot off of. But for now I'm going to clean this up and come back and show you. Alright, so here it is all cleaned up. Did some sanding, a little bit of smoothing out stuff. I'm going to make a bail, and then I'm actually going to liver of sulfur this by applying it in areas with a paintbrush, because I don't want the liver of sulfur on the pearls. So let me go ahead and figure out what I'm going to do for a bail, and I'll be back. Alright, for my bail, I've decided on a 24 by 14 oval that I'm going to cut out with my Pepetools oval disc cutter. Got that nice tightened down, got my metal in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a whack. Done. So now I have that guy that I'm going to use as my bail. But before I do that, I'd like to add some texture to it. So I have my piece here, and it's basically going to go right over there, and I want to try and mimic some of that texture and maybe make my bail a little bit larger. So I'm going to take, let's get another Wubbers hammer, shall we? Let's get, let's see, I think use this guy here, this little round kind of ball peen, and I'm going to go around the edges. Not really going to touch the center quite yet. Okay, so I have that kind of texture around the outside. I think I'm going to take this one, the smaller ball peen. Decided to So I'm going to take and place my bail upside down on the corner of my anvil. I'm going to align about where I want the bail to be on my pendant, and then I'm going to use my third hand to align where I'm going to put my rivet. Did somebody say rivet? Alright. Okay. And then when I turn that over, I'll hit the other side so that they're nice and even. But first, I'm going to go ahead and anneal this. And then I can do my bending. So I'll do that. Alright, I have my bail. It's got that one hole in it. The wire that I'm using I think is going to be right around 20 gauge, and it's going to fit right through that hole. So now what I want to do is take a length of this wire. I want to ball it up using the torch. Basically you do that by, I'm not going to do it on camera, but you do that by holding it upside down, or the tip of the wire down, and then you heat it with the torch. Try and get the camera here. You heat it here and you'll see the sterling or the fine silver bead up and start to make a ball at the end of the wire. And then what I'm going to do is snip that with enough room to insert into the wire and have some room that I can then turn it over and peen it over with a riveting hammer. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to ball this up and I'll be back. Alright, so I've come back. I've got my wire balled up. I'm trying to zoom in on you guys so you can see. So there's the balled up wire. I have my bail, and the balled up wire still fits into the bail. So I'll be able to use that as a pin to keep it in place. So now what I'm going to do is take a pair of pliers for bending stuff and create a round shape on that bail. So I'll try and get it centered as much as I can, bend that around, and create my bail shape. You guys can see that okay? Zoom out a little bit, and there you go. So now that hole doesn't necessarily align with where I want it to, so I'm gonna just flatten this off a little bit with a rawhide hammer. And then I'm going to go ahead and realign that other hole so that I can create a rivet point. And I'm going to do that using a very, very tiny drill bit. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to a flex shaft and drill that out because it's a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. Hang on. Alright, I have the bail cleaned up, drilled both sides. The pin that's going to be riveted fits through both sides, has a nice fit through there. Whee! And now what I'm going to do is figure out where I want my bail, what side I like best. I think I like this other side best. I'll slide it on, just like that. A little bit taller so I can get a chain through there. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is clean that out a little bit. And I'll do that probably with a file. Let me grab a file. See? That'll work just fine. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't think there's enough room for the chain to fit. So I'm going to relieve it a little bit. Also, taking off any sharp edges from this area is beneficial for the rivet. Cool. Alright, now that can go back on. Stick our rivet through there. Find out where it goes. Somewhere. Straighten that out. There we go. Alright, that gives me plenty of room for a chain. Alright, we have the bail and we have my ball rivet right there inserted into the bail, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of push this over and create a fasten. So now what I can do, now that that's pushed over and kind of hammered into place, I'm going to take the hammer that I'd used before to kind of peen that a little bit. And what I'm essentially doing is creating a mechanical fasten. One of the nice parts about this is that since I already have my pearls mounted, I don't necessarily need to solder this type of pin in place. I can just hammer it. And here you see the ball, nice and tight, and we have a Peapod. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up. I'm going to apply some liver of sulfur with a paintbrush, and I'll show you what it looks like. Liver of sulfur application, maybe for another video, so don't want to get too much.